The storm was tearing the ranch apart when Elena stumbled into the barn, clutching her arm and shaking from pain. Rancher Cole Maddox looked at the swollen wound, jaw tightening. Something was trapped under her skin, something she never saw coming. When he picked up the long metal tool, Elena's eyes widened in panic. The storm arrived without warning, rolling over the plains like a furious beast, tearing at the fences and rattling the windows of Cole Maddox's ranch. Wind screamed through the cracks of the old barn, sending loose hay swirling in frantic circles. Cole was inside repairing a broken saddle when he heard the frantic footsteps, uneven, stumbling, desperate. Before he could turn, the barn door flew open, slamming against the wall, and Elena collapsed just inside the threshold, soaked, trembling, and clutching her arm. He rushed to her instantly. Rainwater dripped from her hair, mixing with the dirt smeared across her cheeks. Her breathing came in short, painful bursts. When she lifted her face to him, her eyes were wild with fear he hadn't seen in her before. "Cole," she whispered, voice cracking. "Something's wrong. It burned. It still burns." She pulled her hand away from her arm for only a second, and Cole saw it, an angry, swollen welt pulsing beneath her skin. Dark veins spidered outward, creeping up her forearm like ink spreading through paper. His stomach tightened. "What happened?" he demanded. I don't know. I was fixing the chicken coop and felt something strike me. When I looked down, it crawled under the boards." She winced, teeth clenched. "Cole, it's spreading." He helped her sit on a bale of hay, careful but firm. The storm battered the roof like a warning drumbeat. Sweat mixed with rain on her forehead as her body shook. Cole knew the land better than anyone, every insect, every venomous thing that slithered or stung, and this wasn't normal. Not for the desert, not for anywhere. He'd heard rumors in town of a creature hiding in the shadows near the riverbed. Rumors he'd dismissed. Now he wasn't so sure. He grabbed his metal toolkit from the workbench and rifled through it fast. Forceps. Lantern. Needle. Antidote powder he'd made years ago but never expected to use again. When he returned to her side, Elena's eyes widened at the long, silver tool in his hand. "Wait, you're putting that inside me?" Her voice shook between terror and disbelief. He knelt in front of her, lantern light flickering across his face, making the shadows deeper. "It'll be over quick," he said, tone steady but urgent. "But if I don't get that stinger out now, you might lose your arm, or worse." Her breathing faltered. She glanced down at the darkening veins and swallowed hard. "Are you sure you can do this?" Cole met her gaze, and for a heartbeat the storm seemed to fall silent. "I've done it before. But you have to trust me." Lightning flashed, illuminating the barn in a shocking burst of white. Elena closed her eyes tightly, nodding just once. "Okay," she whispered. "Do it." Cole gripped her arm gently but firmly. Her body tensed as he positioned the tool, hands steady despite the chaos raging outside. The metal pressed against her skin, searching for the hidden sting lodged beneath the surface. She gasped, knuckles whitening as she grabbed the hay bale for support. "Breathe," Cole murmured. "You're stronger than this." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he felt the hard edge of the stinger slide against the tool. With a precise, practiced movement, he pulled. Elena cried out, but the moment the object left her skin, the dark veins stopped spreading. Cole dropped the venomous barb into a tin cup, heart pounding as he examined it. It wasn't from any creature he knew. Not from any creature that belonged here. And that meant something dangerous was stalking the ranch. Something that hadn't come alone. Cole stared at the stinger in the tin cup, the metal trembling in his hand even though he tried to hide it. The thing was longer than any insect barb he'd ever seen, thin, curved, almost like a needle made of obsidian. It pulsed faintly, a sickly purple glow flickering along its edges before fading like dying embers. Whatever it came from wasn't just venomous, it was wrong. Completely unnatural to these lands. Elena's breathing steadied a little, though she was pale and drenched with sweat. "Is it out?" she whispered, voice barely a thread of sound. He moved back to her quickly, pushing aside his own fear. "It's out. You're going to be okay." He mixed the antidote powder with water and pressed the cup to her lips. She drank shakily, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand as she leaned into the wooden post behind her. Lightning cracked again, close enough to shake the barn. The horses in their stalls stomped nervously, kicking at the doors. Elena winced at the sound. "Cole, what was that thing?" He knelt beside her, studying her arm. Already the angry darkness was fading, replaced by normal color slowly returning. Relief washed over him, but it didn't last. "I don't know," he admitted. "But it wasn't a spider. Not a scorpion. Not anything I've seen in my life." "You think it's still out there?" she asked, voice trembling despite her effort to steady it. He nodded grimly. "And if it attacked you, it's not done." Elena tried to sit up straighter, but a wave of dizziness pushed her back down. Cole caught her shoulders, lowering her gently. The storm wind tore through the gaps in the boards, scattering hay across the floor like frantic whispers. The air felt charged, electric, as if the land itself was bracing for something bigger. "Why would something like that be here?" she asked, forcing her eyes open to meet his. Cole hesitated, thumb brushing unconsciously over the back of her hand. "I've been finding signs for weeks. Tracks that don't belong. Fences torn through, not like by horses or coyotes. Like something testing the borders." His jaw clenched. "I didn't want to worry you. You thought it was nothing," she finished softly. "I hoped it was nothing." A sudden thud against the far side of the barn made both of them freeze. The horses whinnied loudly, slamming against their stalls. Cole stood instantly, hand reaching for the shotgun hanging above the workbench. Elena pushed herself up, still swaying, but her eyes were sharp with fear and determination. Cole held up a hand. "Stay behind me." Another thud. Then a long, scraping sound, moving slowly along the outside wall. Something dragging its weight across the wood. Rain hammered the barn roof like fists, the storm raging harder. Elena's whisper cracked with dread. "Cole, it followed me." He cocked the shotgun, keeping the barrel steady despite the pounding in his chest. "Whatever it is," he said quietly, "it wants in." A shadow passed beneath the barn door, slow and deliberate. And then, a deep, guttural sound rumbled through the wood. Not human. Not animal. Something else. Cole stepped forward, breath low. "Get ready," he told Elena. The latch on the outside clicked. Then slowly, violently, the barn door began to open.